we have this video. Evan Kilgore posted it. Candace Owens just said a close family friend of Andrew Colvett allegedly reached out to her and said that Andrew told them he lost out of millions when Charlie rejected the deal with Benjamin Netanyahu earlier this year. Let me play the clip for you from her show. It's a minute long.
We just can't all be hanging out in Delaware. And there's one more thing that came in regarding Andrew Colvett. Very close family friend of Andrew Colvett had messaged me early on, and I, again, was not tracking any of this at the time, but they had said that they felt that Andrew Colvett was acting weird, and I'm sure that's not a big deal. I think we were all acting weird. Charlie Kirk was assassinated, but moreover, they had mentioned that specifically Andrew had told them that when Charlie said no to Bibi, he lost out on millions. Now, I'm going to say allegedly because this is a tip, but I have that tip in writing. I'm not lying to you. And I thought to myself, that is so weird. How could the spokesperson at Turning Point USA be how could they be gaining millions from that? What is the structure here of these contracts that even people that are in PR, people that are like running PR departments are getting tips on the basis of donations? I don't know how this is working, but we need to figure out how this is working. I think it's really important that we learn the truth about what happened. Who's Pierre? Is it Pierre Dupont? And has Turning Point been paid? Obviously, it wouldn't be on this year's taxes. You're not going to find those on this year's taxes, but they would be on next year's. But we can ask now.
You know, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and we were talking about how the average reading level in the United States is around like 7th grade. And I think she first had the 8th grade. And I was like, this is funny because this just came up on Timcast the other night. I think it's actually around 7th grade. And then I was like, I double checked because we pulled up the data. And it actually ranges from between 5th to 8th grade. So it's like 6th, 7th grade reading level. And if I don't think Candace is stupid. I think she's actually super intelligent. I think she's a genius. And what I mean by that is not that she's a good person, but I believe that she is extremely aware. She is quick to learn and understand what she is doing. That's why I think what she's doing is amoral, is wrong. It's immoral. Because the way she just phrased all of that to imply that there was some illicit deal with Andrew Colvett in Israel, it's exactly what she's been doing. And I'm going to say this, much to the, I suppose it'll sound elitist and insulting, but the people of low reading comprehension who can't parse through the manipulations, they believe this. I was at the poker room over the weekend, and there were these young guys who were like, "Did you hear that Candace is in hiding now because Israel and like they're trying to kill her over this Charlie stuff?" And I said, "You mean how she posted her show was off the air for the week because it was Thanksgiving?" And they were like, "She didn't say that." I'm like, "Yeah, she didn't say anything. It was vague." That's what she does, vagaries, so that you connect the dots and you can believe whatever it is you want to believe without her actually having said anything. So let me put it like this. If Andrew Colvett is working at a nonprofit, or literally anybody works at a nonprofit, often you get commissions on, it's called development. If you bring in a large donor, you will get a commission. That is completely normal at nonprofits. You may not like it. People may say, I think it's wrong that you get a commission on donations, but nonprofits are the same as any other business. Mm-hmm. So executive directors at nonprofits at big ones are going to make $1 million salaries. And I honestly think it's stupid that people get mad about this, because if you want CEO level talent, you have to pay CEO level wages. Usually it's not going to be identical. Mm-hmm. You know, I think Charlie was getting, I think they say it was around $1 million between four different nonprofits. And he was worth substantially more than that. His show alone was probably bringing way more anyway. But if Colvett or literally anybody was organizing some kind of deal, be it with Netanyahu or anyone else, now you can argue that in of itself is wrong. But getting a commission on a donation is actually fairly routine for big organizations, especially when someone is working with, they call it development. So the insinuation now is that Turning Point USA killed Charlie, but the sledgehammer, of course, is when she says everybody should request a refund from this organization. Now, obviously, y'all know that, you know, we have the minorest of drama issues with Turning Point. We're not going to be there at AmFest, but it is what it is. I ain't crying about it. I talk to these guys relatively often, so whatever. But the idea that you would try to destroy them and get everybody to pull their donations using the insinuation they murdered Charlie Kirk is evil. It's evil.
My whole thing with this, Because I get asked about, what do you think about what Candace did? Or was it like, look, I got no problem with people that want to question the official narrative. No problem. I got questions about the whole, 30-06 caliber, and is this really going to, did it do the damage, et cetera? Sure. What I don't understand, though, and I worded it to someone this way once. I said, if I spent my entire life building an organization that I truly believed in, and I built a life with my wife, who I absolutely loved, and somebody came out and started making accusations that both the organization that I built and dedicated my life to and the woman I dedicated my life to were somehow complicit in my murder, I would hope that they had real receipts before they were willing to put my wife or my organization, my life's work, on the line for that. Again, you can ask all you want, but I would hope before people would believe that, you would actually be bringing something fairly concrete.
Has Candace?
Man, I'd hope that. Well, I can only imagine that if/when I die, I got a lot of text messages with people that can be made to say. You know what? I wonder if I could You could take any text message from me to anybody else and make it sound crazy. Let me see if I can find.
Especially Tim's.
Well, hold on. I'm grabbing Phil over here. Let's see. Hold on. What is this? What is this?
I'm sure that there are sufficient text messages in my phone that would do me in.
I'm trying to find a text from Phil that's not really bad. It's kind of vague.
Just hard R's, straight hard R's all the time.
I mean, there's just the N-word like crazy. I don't want to read any of those. No, but I'm not going to read anything explicitly, but the point I'm making is I just pulled up the text I have with Phil, and here's one. Hey, Tim, thanks again for today. When you get a chance, can you shoot me Chad's number? And then all I have to do is go, here's a message from Phil. Chad, I remember that day when we were all hanging out. It was so sad. And, Phil looked at me and he said, brother, we're in this together. And I went, I'm right there with you, man. That's what she's doing. She's just showing any random text, and it's just, it's really gross.
How much stuff has she actually shown? I'm not following.
So I can't say that I've watched every episode she's ever done, but I watched her show today. And what I will say is, when everyone, I've watched a handful of her shows. I've watched the ones that are relevant to what's been going on, but I don't follow all of it. And then I always hear people be like, she's not claiming Turning Point was involved. And I'm like, then you didn't watch the show where she was like, inside job. That's how I feel. I have no, what else can you think?
Regis side.
Yeah, Regis side.
And the fact that she says things like, the caveat's always, that's how I feel. And it's not any kind of actually substantial evidence. It's all implication, and she's covering her tracks by saying, this is how I feel. I hate the whole thing. From top to bottom, all of the stuff all of the people talking about Charlie's murder, post Charlie's murder, it all just seems like sharks in the water looking to pick up their little bit of whatever they can get, attention they can get.
I have to say this, but I'm not going to say who told me it. But this issue, of course, comes up in these private circles. I get asked by a lot of people I meet who know who I am. The first thing they ask me about is Candace and what she said about Turning Point. And I have to be like, let's just stop and analyze what she said. And you tell me what you think. But someone today was talking to me about it, and they were just like, Candace has made a lot of insinuations. And this latest one with Andrew Colvett losing millions of dollars, the implication that he's going after Charlie or whatever. And then this person I'm talking to goes he's not a chess player. And that's the nicest way of saying, with all due respect to Colvett, that he doesn't have the capability to plot something of this. I'm not trying to be a dick.
Yeah.
But the insinuation that their spokesperson had the capability to map out this plan involving the French Foreign Legion and Israeli spies and getting security pulled from the roof. Just all of that's required. Now, I got to be honest, I've worked with security companies where I've met people who you can tell have that capability. And I'm sure you have too.
It's not as easy as people want to make it out to be.
It's absolutely not. And any we talked about it before, a single janitor walking up to the roof would have ruined the whole thing.
Yeah.
So there's all these little nooks and crannies that have to be available, and that's why I think it is actually very strange. Mm-hmm. When Charlie's security was the police said it was it was fine, they got it, and I'm like, nah, that don't add up. Security companies don't just be like, we know there's roof access, and we're not going to put an old lady knitting in front of the door. You have an old lady knitting in front of the door, and Charlie's alive. So that does not add up. I mean, and, Occam's razor, Hanlon's razor, it's just a very, very awful security company. But to then go and insinuate that the people who were made rich by Charlie turned on him, the comments that I made before that got them upset with me was that I said there are people at Turning Point that fear they can't make it without Charlie.
And the people at Turning Point, like they all stood to make significantly more money with Charlie at the helm than after Charlie's passed away.
But real quick, but that's correct. Now, who stands to make the most money from this story?
Currently, it seems like Candace Owens.
Indeed. Talking about how she's the biggest podcast, connecting this with the Macrones to tie it to the Bridget Macron is a man thing. I got to be honest, right now we're looking at dropping CPMs for political content. I was having a conversation, it's kind of a vague thing to say because I don't want to drag other prominent personalities. But let me just say this. I routinely talk with Jack Posobiec and Benny Johnson and Steven Crowder and a bunch of these guys, as well as ad bookers, buyers. We have these conversations all the time. And you know what I can say? This one I have no problem actually mentioning. I was talking with Jeremy Hambley from The Quartering. And because he's made several videos talking about the decline of political content, viewership, CPMs. And I told him, I was like, well, look, I got to be honest. There were some people who came up to Tate, producer Tate, and mentioned, like, how come Tim's views are still good? Like, everyone else is dropping. And I'm like, well, our viewership has gone down for sure in the season, but, my morning show's doing pretty much the same as it always has, minus, like, I was sick or, like, off for holidays. And so they asked these questions. I was talking to Jeremy Hambley about it, and I said, look, I got to be honest. How evil are you willing to be is the question. And when we're at the end of, we're coming off the back year of this election season, it was abnormally large this year. It's supposed to be a dead year completely. Mm-hmm. After every election, everyone says, turn it off. I don't want politics. And we actually got to squeeze some out of it, because Donald Trump was making bold moves. But now we're getting the holiday season and people are like, okay, enough. I want to hear about why the Bears are Bears are in first place. Is that what's going on?
In the NFL?
Yeah.
In the NFC East, is it?
I have no idea. I don't
know the Vikings are having a doo-doo season.
All I know is my buddies from Chicago are like, can you believe that the Bears are actually like leading? And I was like, is that true? That's what people care about right now.
Yeah.
But I said, listen, there's two things you can do. What most people do is they try to figure out what kind of content can I make that people actually are interested in. Mm-hmm. We are in the business of trying to inform an audience on what they want, but also not just giving them red meat. Right? The point is, can I cover news subjects you are interested in? So what we found inadvertently is that the space weather stuff does.
Bears are 9-3.
9-3, right? It's massive.
Very good.
Seriously. And so, but anyway, when we talk about space weather and the auroras, mm-hmm. we get massive viewership. Mm-hmm. But we don't just do that because we think we'll get massive viewership. We're all genuinely interested.
Yeah.
Shane's here and he's talking about it. And then I've interviewed Ben Davidson before. And so, again, telling Jeremy, I was like, you can do things like that and try and figure out, you have an audience, they're asking for commentary. Are you providing the commentary they're asking for? Or you can do what Candace does and show old text messages going back to 2018. You can make vague insinuations that they can't sue you over, and then be vague enough to where people think there's a grand conspiracy and do a true crime drama where you accuse the French First Lady of having a dong. And you will get millions of views and you will make lots of money, for which now I think it's, a Fortune is saying that she makes around $10 million a year. And I'd estimate more than that.
So that's to say you don't think she's just ignorant. You think she's acting with malice for financial gain and social media clicks.
Malice in the legal sense, I think that she is fully cognizant of what she's doing. And I do not say it lightly that I think she's a genius. Right? It reminds me of that Harry Potter line where Snape says, Dumbledore's a great wizard, and Bellatrix gets all mad. He's like, he is a great wizard, and only a fool. Yeah, Candace Owens is ridiculously smart. I've told the story. I went on her show when she's at Daily Wire, and I was shocked by how quick-witted, intelligent, and well-read she was. Mm-hmm. Even before the show, she knew all, like, current news. I'm like, she must be reading nearly as much news as I do to know what she knows and to put these dots together. She's very, very intelligent. So when I see the things she's saying, and I know these techniques in manipulation, like when she said, I'll be off the air this week as an update, the White House has confirmed receipt of the assassination plot against me. It's manipulative language intentionally to trick people into thinking she's going into hiding because of an assassination plot.
And I saw an account today that's following all this and say, well, the White House has confirmed the threat. It's like, no, the White House confirmed receipt.
Indeed.
Of the threat. this is an important distinction. This isn't minor. And again, I go back. I have not spent any time on any of my show or my social media going after Candace Owens for any of this stuff, right? I'm like, whatever. But my issue comes down to, okay, fine. Once again, if you're going to make this sort of accusations, if it were me, if you were making these accusations about people I loved, I would want more evidence than what you're presenting. The other thing that I don't understand is this. If you honestly believe that you have uncovered something that could potentially blow the lid off of one of the most consequential conspiracies, and I don't say conspiracy pejoratively, I mean it the actual word and what the word means. What? Okay, look, I've done a little intel analysis in my life where I was tracking terror cells. My father was a homicide detective, and he will tell you that if you really do have all of these sources that are providing you information, every time you go out there and publicly talk about private sources close to people that are doing it, you essentially destroy that source's ability to give you future information. Because now they lose access and placement as the organizations that you're investigating shut down. So my question is this: for anybody that is again just genuinely interested in this, and again, there's plenty to be interested in. If your goal is really to get to the truth, to the bottom of what happened, what really happened with Charlie, if that is, why would you go about doing it this way as an investigation?
You wouldn't.
I know why you would do it as a content creator. I don't know why you would do it as someone that's trying to get to the bottom of, again, a horrific crime.
I watched her show today. It's very female coded. And that means she talked a lot about Charlie's clothing, and it was very much like Charlie was trying to find something to wear. And I said, you can't wear that jacket. And it's very emotional, social, female coding. Guys don't talk or think this way. And that's why she also has the Stanley, thermos or whatever. It's a very female trendy thing. And it's been reported previously that she and Brett Cooper and others, it's the womanosphere, right? The trad wife, prominent conservative women. It's a true crime drama. And it plays really, really well among women. And I think that's the play she's making. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.